Hey guys, Lord Netsu here, and today we're gonna be doing a new what if, and this is with Deku had a dark side, and Suku's dark side. Its name is gonna be Draven, and if I'm correct, it's it means child of darkness, if I'm correct, and for this story to work a little for me. There's gonna be one character that's gonna be age is gonna be lowered down, but you guys won't figure that out until either later on in this part or in the next part. So yeah, and we can start the story where, well, yes, Subaru is exactly the same when he's born, and by the time he's 4, yeah, he's still pronounced quirkless. And after a year or two of Bakugo bullying Izuku, pretty much everything goes to canon for 2 years until Suku. One night, Suku found himself. Was having one of his normal dreams, and then the dream started to fade into darkness, and he was wondering where he was, and then a figure appeared. And this figure was basically all of Zuku's negative emotions. And yeah, it didn't have a name, so it couldn't fully manifest, but it still had a voice. And it was like, Zuk, and he was like, so I'm finally able to bring you in here. And yeah, Suku would be scared and be like, who are you? And yeah. And this creature technically would have been like, who I am? I have no name. But what I am your negative emotions put together. See me as your dark side. And yeah, Zuko, probably unlike the original, who would probably immediately not to try and get along with it, Zuko would immediately try to. And yeah, the main directive that all of Zuko's pretty much just the being of negative emotions had was to help Zuko to either become a hero or a villain or vigilante, whatever his vessel wished. And he didn't have a name, so it was just blurry a little bit. So yeah. So in this being, asked Zuko to give him a name, and Zuko started mumbling for a bit, and yeah, this being thought that this would get quite annoying, but he needed to get used to it. And yeah, and after a while, Zuko thought of Draven. And yes, in the being of negative emotions liked the name because he knew exactly what it meant. Child of darkness. Which technically he is made from Zuko's darkness, which is his negative emotions. And yeah, over the years, yeah, and after that, Zuko got very close to his dark side. And yeah, after like and by the time we would get to the beginning of the anime, yeah, Zuko would see Draven as literally as himself. Just if circumstances were just a little bit different. Which, yeah, that's technically what this version of Zuko would be. Just him, but different in some ways. Like, he will kill if he needs to. And he is code to people. And this version of Izuku would be code to Izuku. To people. Other than Izuku and Inko. Especially Bakugo. And yeah. Draven has been helping Izuku gain confidence over the years. And also made sure Izuku stayed fit. Izuku doesn't have any abs, but his body is in perfect condition, not in that frail form. So yeah, and Suku did ask Ingo if could do some martial art classes, and yeah, she would have asked why, and yeah, he would have told her that he still wants to become a hero even if he's quirkless. And yeah, she would have approved and helped him in any way possible. Yeah, Draven, yes, Zuko and Draven see themselves as each other, just in different synchronous chances. And yeah, and it would have been the other way around if Draven was given control in the very beginning. So yeah, and Zuko still does, and everything's pretty much the same with Izuku, except he's far more confident in himself. And he has a very high, and he doesn't have low esteem, but he doesn't also see himself as weak. He just sees that people can be weak if they don't try hard enough. So, yeah. And Zuko is like, at this moment, because Draven literally forced Zuko to read a lot of books and help him with his intelligence. Yeah. Zuko's like 4 times as smart. No, 2 times as smart. Which now he's also pretty close to Bakugo's level of physical for when he does the physicals in middle school. And yeah. Yeah, then when we get to the sergeant incident, Suku actually has a better chance now because he knows martial arts and he's trained his body a little bit, at least to where it stays fit. And yeah, then all the stuff that would have happened before Suku would have got one for all those 10 months. Yeah, Suku's saving Bakugo, and him getting training for 10 months. Yeah, it would have happened, but Zuko would have actually finished since Zuko actually knows how to train him way better than his original self. Zuko would have actually gotten better better muscles, and gotten actually a lot twice as stronger. So yeah. And when All Might would have actually, when All Might told Sugu to throw a punch, Sugu would just be like, to test how much percentage he can control. Sugu would have just looked at All Might confused and be like, you just want me to throw a punch? And yeah, I went like, yeah, and Zuko would just, and yeah, Draven and then Zuko would be like, oh my god, does he even know how to teach? And yeah, pretty much Zuko and Draven at the same time would have thought this, and yeah. And Zuko would have went into his mindscape real fast and look at Draven. And Draven would look at Izuku, and they would both laugh in Izuku's mindscape. Like, oh my god, oh my, he's so stupid when it comes to fighting, comes to teaching. And yeah, Draven was like, I know, right? Looks like we're technically gonna have to do this on our own. Yeah, but yeah, at least I have you. And yeah, Draven like give a little smirk, like he's showing on this image. Like, yeah, at least we have each other. And yeah, then Zuko get out of his mindscape, and yeah, he ain't stupid like All Might or original Zuko. So the moment he felt how that he would put one for all in just one limb for a second and feel it, and he like, and after 1 to 2 seconds, he would immediately think, this might be risky, but I'm gonna put it throughout my whole body. And yeah, Draven would be like, yeah, Zuko, do that. I want to see what happens. And yeah, and Zuko would do it. And yeah, All Might would actually be surprised that he already figured that out. And right now, I'm gonna say he can only use 6%. No, wait, no, 10%. And yeah. Well, there's gonna be one big difference. When Izuku got home after the entrance exam, he smelled blood. Well, he said, Mom, I'm home, and yeah, he heard no answer, and he said, Mom, and yeah. And then Zuko felt like a code, or like felt code in it, like a code. What a code? Like just inside the house is just code. And pretty much that feeling you get when you feel like something happened. And he would turn a corner, and he would be looking directly at the kitchen, and yeah, he would see his mother on the ground, surrounded by blood, and Zuko would be like, no, 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 no. And yeah, make sure she's still alive, but no, she is not, sadly. And yeah. And Zuko saw a knife stabbed in her back. A knife in her back. And yeah. Zuko, thinking, would calm down a little bit, enough to where he could think rationally, and he would make sure not to touch the knife for evidence, and he would immediately start wrapping it into something where any DNA any fingerprints that are on it stay on it. So yeah, and he would immediately call the police, and he would still have a shaky voice, and we would hear on the other line, 911, what's your emergency? And yeah, and Zuko was like, my mother's been killed. And yeah, and yeah, the person on the line would ask for the look, for him to hang on for a little bit, and yeah, Zuko would. And Zuko would start hearing sirens coming from outside his house. Then the police would knock on his door, and Zuko would open it with and still tearing up. And yeah, and the police would have asked him what happened, and let's say this. All Might's friend that was a detective was there as well at the same time. And he would have told them what he saw. His mother in a pool of her own blood and he would pull up a bag with the knife inside of it. This knife with it in her back. And yeah. And the detective that was All Might's friend would have been like, would have asked if he, touched it with his bare hand. And yeah, Suku would have been like, no. In fact, I made sure I didn't mess up any fingerprints that might be on it. And yeah, the detective would have been like, good work. Now, please hand it to us so we can do the rest. And yeah, Suku. And yeah, and I'm gonna say All Might actually did tell Izuku about his friend that was a detective. And yeah. And Suku would have said the detective's name without even looking at any name tags he probably would have had on him. Yeah, the detective would have like, how do you know my name? And Zuko we just mouth, I am here. And yeah, and the detective would immediately figure it out. He's been either he knows All Might enough to where he told him, or All Might's training him. And he told him of him. And All Might told him of him. And yeah. And yeah, the detective would have, and yeah, the police would have also asked, does he have any other relative that could, have any more relatives? And yet, Suku would have just said that he only knew his mother. His father is overseas as far as she told him. Yeah, the police officers would nod and yeah. And I can't remember if All Might did this before, in the canon, but let's just say All Might gave him his phone number so he could call him when he needs to ask for something, or if he needs to train more. And yeah. And yeah. Since Zuko did figure out that All Might's going to be teaching at UA, Zuko would immediately just call All Might, but call him by his civilian name, Toshinori. Yeah, Yagi Toshinori. And when All Might heard that his phone was going off, and let's say he's in UA right now, and he's in Nezu's office, and he hears his phone going off, and yeah, and he was talking to Nezu, and when Nezu heard his phone going off, All Might would look, and it would say Izuku Midoriya, and yeah, Nezu would be like, oh, who was that? And I'm pretty sure Nezu did know of One for All, so if he didn't, he does now. And yeah, All Might was said, just say that he's a boy that I'm training, and yet Nezu was like, oh, okay, and then All Might would answer the phone and like, young Midoriya, what is it? And yeah. And by now the police will have left. And the detective as well, and yeah. Zuko will start talking, but still stuttering as if something bad happened, and yeah. And yeah, Zuko would have actually asked, "Where are you right now?" But stuttering, and yeah, like a lot more than he would. And All Might would have told him that he's at UA in the principal's office. And yeah, Zuko risking it asked All Might to put him on speaker. And yeah, All Might not would oblige because yeah. First, he would ask Nezu if he could put his phone on speaker because it seems young Midoriya wants to talk to UND. And yeah, Nezu would nod and would approve. Then All Might would place his phone on the table and put it on speaker. And yeah, and Nezu actually heard Zuko's stuttering. And yeah, and All Might would have, when All Might realized that Zuko's stuttering more than usual, he would have asked what's wrong. And yeah, and he would say while still stuttering a lot more than usual, my mother was killed. In a very sad tone, and yeah, Nezu, yeah, and All Might, and yeah, Zuko actually told All Might pretty much everything that he knew about it. And yeah, All Might curious in the past, like while they were still training, All Might did ask him about his parents, and yeah, All Might actually knowing Zuko's situation now, that pretty much his father's overseas, and pretty much knows nothing, and his only family parent figure died. And yeah, All Might would have gotten a face of guilt. Because, yeah, his successor now has no parent to raise him and keep him safe, technically. And, yeah, as he saw the face of All Might's face being of guilt, and Neji would have asked Zuko Midoriya what his situation is, and yet Zuko, hoping this would be his future principal, would tell Nezu. Well, trying to, still starting a little bit, but more calm down, saying that his father has been overseas for years and he has never met him or remember him, and he's only known his mother. And yeah, Nezu was like, put the Mega you in, Midoriya, and yeah, Zuko, like, yeah, and yeah. And Nezu would be quick on his feet if, and Ash and Zuko, since and Zuko was actually one of the first people that he actually finished seeing if he would be able to get into UA. He was actually one of the first people, and Nezu would have asked him, and also Zuko made more confident for the entrance exam. Would have actually gotten a lot of villain points and rescue points as well for people that didn't have their guard out completely. So yeah, Nezu would have asked him if he first would have asked if he has anywhere else to stay, and yeah, Suku was with a sad tone would say no, and yeah, then Nezu being generous this time, like how about this? You live at UA, and yet Suku and All Might would be surprised. All Might have more, but Suku would be like, are you sure? And, Nezu would be like, yes, we don't want a future student being not having a place to stay now, do we? And yeah, Suku would be like, wait, do you mean? And Nezu would be like, yes, you passed, and you're in class 1A. And yeah, Suku and his mom would be like, yes, okay, yeah. As long as you got into UA, you didn't care. So yeah, he would like, what? Where would I stay? And yeah, Nezu was like, oh, alright. And yeah, let's just say Nezu thought out the dorms before, but didn't have a reason to. But he did have a reason to have one for a Suku, a personal one, where there was no other dorms around him. It was just an area where only his dorm was at. And yeah, Nezu would have like, I will make a personal dorm room for you, Midoriya. And yeah. And yeah. And remember, this is 3 weeks before everyone else is notified of their if they passed or not. So, and Zuko would have immediately asked Nezu if he needed him to, if he could, well, go to UA to map out the place for himself, just in case he would ever get lost. Because from the outside, UA is big. And yeah, Nezu understood. Like, of course, Midoriya. Midoriya, and yeah. And yeah. Nezu would actually say, while the phone is still on, oh my, could you fetch him, please? And yeah. And all my, like, of course, Nezu. And yeah. And Suku and Nezu would have told Suku, alright, kid, yes, 4 hours, just get everything you need. Chop, and yeah. And Suku with actually determination, a little bit more determination in his voice, would be like, yes, sir. And yeah, Nezu liked how he heard determination in the boy's voice now. And yeah, Zuko would meet with being like, and yeah, Zuko would said while the phone was still on, well, the call was still on, see you in 4 hours, alright, and yeah. And yeah, then Zuko would hang up the phone, put it in his pocket, and immediately start packing all of his clothes and a little bit of food. Like 3 weeks, enough food that would last exactly, enough food for him to last at least 3 weeks. And yeah, he would get all of his clothes, and yeah, Suku would hear a knock at his door as soon as he finished getting everything. And yeah, All Might would be at the door in his small Might form. And All Might would have asked, "Yo, Midoriya, are you ready?" And he's like, "Yes, no, he would, before he would finish himself, he would stop, and then he stopped himself and like, Tashinari, yeah. And yeah, All Might would nod his head and yeah. And they would start walking to UA with Izuku right behind him with, yeah, 3 bags, like a few bags of food and all of his clothes. Every single one. And yeah, All Might, it's like, "Young Midoriya, what's in those bags?" And point to the bags where the food are in. Zuko would be like, "Oh, I didn't know if I'd be, if the food of, I didn't know if the school would provide me with food during these 3 weeks, so we prepped food." And yeah, the school ain't technically supposed to do that since, yeah, no fresh years in there yet. Except Suku, because he's trying to map out the place. And yeah. And yeah. When Suku and Toshinari, aka All Might, got inside the UA, Nezu was waiting. Nezu was like, Suku Midoriya, welcome to UA. And yeah, Zuko would just immediately say, thank you for letting me pass. Because, yeah, he knows that it's partly for the written physical part of the test. It's also it's technically also what the principal decides. So yeah. And Nezu would like, it's no trouble, Midoriya. And yeah. And Nezu would see a few bags of food and he could smell it, so Nezu would be like, I see you came prepared. And Zuko would like, yeah. And yeah, it's basically just fruit and vegetables. Just fruit and vegetables. And Zuko also had something else. And he really wanted to give it to Nezu. He just felt like it. Because, yeah. And Zuko would be like, oh, before I forget. And he would go into one of the bags and grab a bag of tea. And yeah, Nezu would be like, oh, tea. So do you like tea? And Zuko was like, I've never tried it, but... And Zuko, without Zuko saying another word, he would hold it out towards Nezu. And yeah. And unexpectedly for Zuko got Nezu's favorite tea. And yeah, Nezu saw it was one of his favorite teas, so like, oh, you shouldn't have. And Zuko was like, but I wanted to. And yeah. And he would just give off a smile that was pretty much completely like All Might's, but different. So yeah. And Zuko has So, what do you want me to do with my luggage? And yeah, Nezu would like, oh, you can put it into a locker inside my office for now. And Suku is like, and he'll just be like, thank you, sir. And yeah, Nezu would have on, like, it's no problem, child. And yeah, he is child. And Suku would have gone inside and put the luggage inside a closet within Nezu's office. Yeah, and we go back to Nezu and All Might, and yeah, Nezu like, quite the predicament he's in now. And yeah, All Might was like, yeah, I feel really guilty. I feel really sorry for young Midoriya. And yeah, wait, hold on. I feel really sorry about young Midoriya. And yeah, Nezu was like, let's just hope it doesn't crash him. And yeah, Inko wasn't his only person in his life that pretty much that helped him and guide him. Draven was also there, which unbeknownst to them, they will pretty much never see. And when Draven wants to get outside of Suku's mind, he will just be a ghost that only Suku can see. So yeah. And Draven has yellow eyes, pretty much. And Draven's eyes are yellow. So yeah. And we skip 3 weeks and we see, a personal dorm room for Izuku. And yeah, after the second week, when all the teachers were going into UA for classes, Nezu, Aizawa asked asked Nezu if there's any additional information he needs to know about his class. And yeah, Nezu felt like telling Aizawa this first, and he told Aizawa about Suku's predicament, the kid that the teachers have been seeing around the school pretty much all the time. And yeah, Aizawa would can't get angry. Yeah, Ken and Aizawa cared for Class 1A. So yeah. And yeah. And technically, Draven is a brother figure to Izuku. A twin, in effect, technically. So, yeah. And by the end of the 3 weeks, everybody would have gotten their letters, and Izuku would have gotten first place, actually. Because he got higher than Bakugo. So, yeah. And after his mother died, he got a bit colder towards people. And I'm gonna say, there's actually a few times Bakugo actually almost killed Izuku while he was bullying and beating him up. So, yeah. And I feel like Todoroki and Izuku are actually kind of like have something in common in a way. But Izuku is just gonna be like worse. So yeah. And yeah, when it's the first day of UA, and Nezu gave Suku a ring that allows, pretty much a ring that allows him to go to any part of UA. Which pretty much tells everybody that, yeah, Nezu personally gave him permission to go to every single part of UA. And no one can say no to him, pretty much. And the ring looks like, yeah, and this is the ring. And yeah, it has a special feature. If anyone that isn't the owner of this ring, and they aren't allowed to touch it, which as you personally put on this, it will shock the person until they pass out. And if anyone tries to steal it from him, yeah, same thing will happen. And yeah. And it will send out a signal to Nezu to where the ring is. If it is stolen from Izuku. So yeah. Or anyone that's supposed to own it by Nezu's orders. And yeah, and all the teachers have to treat with Izuku with respect because he has this ring. And this part of the ring allows him to go to any part of the UA. And yeah. Zuku would be able to. Yeah, and when the first day of UA starts, Zuku just goes into the classroom, being the first one there, other than Aizawa. And yeah, Zuku and Aizawa actually grown close during the week that they had. That Aizawa was trying to get to know his new student, his future student. So yeah, and they actually got rather close. Like student teacher bond, and yeah, Aizawa did notice that he's a bit colder. That he's a bit cold, and he did ask All Might because All Might seemed to know more about Zuko. And yeah, All Might said he used to be not cold at all. Like, at all. Like, after his mother died, this happened. And yeah, Aizawa could understand. Because, well, he lost a friend. But losing a mother is basically 10 times worse for anyone. So, yeah. And, yeah. Zuko would be the first one in the classroom, and next, we'll say is Momo. And, yeah, Zuko would have bags under his eyes because he's been working on his quirk day in and out. And he was passed out with his head just lift up. Just looking straight up. Which is, yeah. Him sitting straight up, but his head looking straight towards the ceiling and his eyes completely closed. Momo was about to wake him up, but then she saw bags under his eyes, like a lot to, like enough to where you can figure out, yeah, he's been awake for days. so she would leave him alone. And yeah, then later Ida would come in and try to wait Zuko up. Then Momo would, and few of the students let's say there was like a few students before Ida came in. And Bako was one of them. And let's say there was like, and all the students that we see in that classroom before Chuckle and Azuku, let's say they came in before Bakugo. And when Bakugo tried to punch the Suguru away, Suguru was about to act and shoot. But then Kirishima, Mina, Denki, Momo, and Tokoyami would stand right in front of Izuku, dude, let the man sleep. And and Kirishima being like, this is very unmanly towards Bankigo, and and it would actually, and Zuko would give off a faint smile when he overheard it. So he fell back to sleep. And when everyone else was there and were talking, Zuko would open his eyes and still be very tired and he would just yell at the top of his lungs. Basically, we'd see Zuko before Aizawa. And Aizawa would be behind where the teacher was stand, about to waking up, and Zuko, very annoyed and still crazy tired, would pretty much just say, and pretty much just imagine Iruka as Zuko, and Naruto being pretty much everyone else. But them just like, because Zuko would show an Zuko would have actually been able to get them skate, freak them out. Like, pretty much what Aizawa can do towards this class 1A, and and he pretty much have been like, shut up! And everyone would have been quiet, and Aizawa would immediately would continue to like Zuko. And he does know that Zuko barely even slept for the past few days. Heck, maybe a week. And then I would say the same thing, and I'm struggling with what about orientation? And Zuko would just be like, what about it? Do you need it to become a hero? And she would try to find the answer, but she couldn't. And exactly, you don't need orientation. And plus, you spoke out of line. So, I suggest you shut up before he does something that you don't want to happen. Am I right, Aizawa-sensei? And Aizawa, and Aizawa would have gave him the nickname Problem Child, which Zuko loved a lot more than Deku. And Draven would have liked it as well, because, does sum them up pretty much. And yeah, when anyway, Azuma said, "You are right, problem child." And yeah, Baku would have been like, "Problem child? What the hell?" And yeah, Baku and Mitsuki haven't heard the news. Inko Day. So yeah. And yeah, Zuko would have. Yeah, when I would say the same, then Zuko would have walked out after saying that stuff about orientation. That you don't need orientation to become heroes. You would just walk out and go to the changing rooms. And yeah, everybody would see. Well, yeah. His muscles, and yeah, like, bro, how do you get those? Bro, what's your training? Zuko would just, yeah, and Zuko at the moment ain't really looking for friends. So yeah, and he would be half as cold as Todoroki. So he would just he would slightly ignore Kirishima, but like, and yeah, Zuko would have actually asked Kirish, but like, yeah, then he would responded with, "Isn't it manly?" And Zuko thinking small, doing this, we were like, "Ain't it manly to introduce yourself first?" And yeah, Zuko would have had a little smirk on his face when he said that, and yeah, Kirishima pretty much like, "Oh, how could I forget? Yujiro Kirishima." And yeah, Zuko would have been like, "Zuko Midoriya," and shake his hand. And yeah. And yeah. And the moment Zuko looked towards Todoroki, Zuko would actually look for him for 1 second and be like, maybe me and him have something in common. Because, yeah, he's seeing Todoroki's scar. So we would finish getting dressed, and yeah, when he saw Mineta doing that, Zuko would immediately be like, "Draven, you want to take the wheel for a second?" And yeah, Draven would be like, "Gladly," in Zuko. Yeah. And yeah, Zuko's eyes wouldn't change one bit, but Draven would take the wheel. With Zuko still having control, but letting Draven do the talking. And yeah, Zuko would immediately just watch towards Mineta, thinking he's going to want to peek through the hole as well. Would look at Zuko, but no, he saw an angry face. And Zuko would have grabbed him by his collar. Grabbed it in a position where it would start pushing and his face would start pressing against the Great's neck. And yeah, Draven would start talking and be like, "Listen here, you brat. If you do that again, I will make sure that you are no longer to see. Do you understand me? And then I will break your legs in arms and then paralyze you. Do you understand me? And yeah. And Zuko, aka Draven, would have a serious face. And yeah, Zuko would have actually done this. Would actually do this in this version. Because he does not care for people that are pervs. The moment he sees them and trying to pick on a woman. Also, he thinks of equal equality. So, doesn't matter your gender. He'll punch you will strike you as hard as he would strike any other person. No matter what race or gender you are, he will punch you with the same amount of strength. So, yeah, Mineta would shake his head very fast, and yet Zuko taking back control of his voice and be like, good, and yeah. And when Draven speaks through Zuko, his voice sounds deeper, like slightly. But no one will notice. Unless they actually pay attention to the volume of how his voice sounds. Which very little people will do. And yeah. Zuko would then drop Mineta. And yeah, and all the girls will have heard what Zuko said and be like, huh. Nice. And yeah, Jiro will have heard most of it. Well, pretty much all of it. Then Zuko would finish getting into his UA uniform. Well, into the jumpsuit that Aizawa wanted them in, and go to the field. Yeah, and he would be the first one there. And Zuko would have his hands behind his back waiting for everyone else. Well, actually, no, he would be in the position of a soldier. Just completely standing straight up, giving full attention to Aizawa. With his hands just pinned against his sides. And yeah, as I was kind of seeing, he's acting a little bit like a soldier. Yeah. He pretty much just took one of the most deadliest, and he took two martial arts, and he's a master of two different martial arts. One of them is the most dangerous, which is for military, which was an ex-military officer that trained Izuku into martial arts that the military use. And yeah, that one was the most dangerous martial art that he got. Another one, yeah. And yeah, Sugu does know how to fight perfectly. And the other one he learned was, yeah, these are the two martial arts, Krav Maga and Nine, aka learner in fighting natural override engagement. And those are the two that Zuko learned. So yeah. And then, yeah, he pretty much looks exactly the same. And yeah, when Draven would ever completely take control, Suku's lightning would change from from green to red, and the other way around. So yeah. This version of Zuko would be unconscious. Draping would take over and completely and Purge's help Izuku. So yeah, when when Aizawa would throw the ball to Suku, Bakugo would be like, huh? And parent like, how did Quokka lizard like you get in first place? And yeah, Suku would immediately but like, ah, I got the easiest answer. And yeah, Suku would just like easy, easy, Kanchan. I'm a lame bloomer. And yeah, they would, and that would immediately make sense to Bakugo as soon as he heard it. But you still want Cobra because he thinks that is use a worthless deku. And still trying to charge it Zugu, but yeah, Aizawa would actually hold him back in that. Suku, before he went to the circle, he would look to the corner of it. He would move his one, just look at the corner of his eyes and see All Might, and give him, and and turn his head a little. It seemed like he's looking towards the sky, and have half it in pretty much All Might, and I'm gonna say All Might can read mouths, lips, and it said, and Suku just mouths, I can see you there. Yeah, and Sugu would just be looking at All Might, and All Might was like, oh, okay, and All Might would just mouth, I just want to make sure that you can control that you can actually pass, and Suku would just have his face give a smile towards All Might, and then Suku would look back to Aizawa and ask him what he wants him to do, and Aizawa would like go to the circle and go into the circle. Suku would walk into it and just stand there and be like, now what? And like, how far did you throw your ball in middle school? And Zuko would say it. And it would be a little bit more than a cannon, so yeah. And then I was always say, throw it but with your quirk. And Zuko would like, And at this point, Zuko if I didn't see he can control 10%, I'm gonna say now he can control 11% without hurting his body. Straining it would be 12, 13 hurting him a lot. So and Orogo still getting that crush on Izuku, but Izuku does not care. Dream and help Izuku gain confidence when talking to girls. So Zugu can actually talk to girls, but if he's actually attracted to them, he will still blush, but he still can talk to them. So Then Zugu would throw the ball at 11% of full counting. And he would get, I'm just going to say this to make Bakugo even more mad, more than Bakugo will get. And when Bakugo throws the ball, he gets lessons in Zuko, and he's mad. And overall, Zuko gets first. And Zuko actually shows like great amount of potential. And pretty much Zuko got first in almost everything. Except like 2. Speed, you got that down. Strength, crushed the yeah, just crushed it, and everything else, yeah. He did better than pretty much anyone. And yeah. And yeah, then and yeah. When it looked like Zuko was about to leave, yeah, Zuko just turned a corner. Yeah, pretty much just start walking the other way from Ichako and Ida. And the moment he knew no one was looking, he just jumped over and yeah, in the UA, the system of UA already knew that it was Zuko hopping over the fence, so the alarm didn't go off. And what Zuko would have walked back in when pretty much only teachers and no one would be there. And we would see, and she would go into his dorm room and, well, his personal dorm room, and fall asleep. And that's where we're gonna end it off. Anyway, if you like this, like, subscribe and cover more. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.